In the year 1150, farmers in a quiet English village heard crying near a hole in the ground. Inside, they found two children. Their skin was green. Their language matched nothing on earth. One of them would be dead within a year, and the other would grow up and take the biggest secret in English history to her grave. This actually happened, and nobody has ever fully explained it. Before we go further, I need you to understand something. This isn't folklore someone made up for fun. This is recorded in two separate medieval chronicles written by two different historians decades apart who never met each other. Ralph of Coggeshall, William of Newburgh, two serious, respected clergymen writing down the same impossible story. Historians still argue about it today, not whether it happened, but what actually happened. The village was called Woolpit in Suffolk, England. The name itself comes from wolf pits, deep trenches dug around the village to trap wolves at night. It was harvest season. The fields were full. And that's when the crying started. Farmers followed the sound to one of the wolf pits. Inside, huddled together, terrified, were two children, a boy and a girl. Their skin had a distinct green tint, like nothing anyone had ever seen on a living person. Their clothing was unlike anything made in England, strange material, strange stitching. And when they spoke to each other, it wasn't French, it wasn't Latin, it wasn't any dialect anyone recognized. To this day, no one has identified the language. Unsure what else to do, the villagers brought the children to the home of a local knight, Sir Richard de Calne. And that's when things got stranger. The children refused every single thing they were offered. Bread, meat, milk, nothing. Days passed. They grew thinner, weaker. It looked like they might starve to death in a stranger's house, surrounded by food they simply would not touch. Then someone brought in raw green beans, still in their pods, and for the first time, the children ate, desperately, hungrily, tearing the pods open with their bare hands. For weeks, it was the only food they would accept. Just beans, nothing else. Why? Nobody knows. The boy never adjusted. He grew sicker by the week, and not long after, he died, without ever learning to speak a word of English, without ever explaining where they came from. His sister was now completely alone in a country she didn't understand, unable to speak to a single living person. But then, slowly, something changed. The girl began eating other foods, and as she did, her skin began to fade, green to pale to a normal human tone over the course of months. She began picking up English words, and when she finally could speak in full sentences, she told a story that still makes historians uncomfortable. She said she and her brother came from a place called St. Martin's Land, a place where the sun never fully rose, where everything existed in a permanent twilight, a place where everyone's skin was green, just like theirs. She said they had been tending their father's sheep when they heard a loud sound and felt a sudden pulling sensation. When it stopped, they were standing by the pit in Woolpit, alone, confused, with no idea how they got there. Here's where it gets stranger. This is not the only recorded case of green children in history. Centuries later, in 16th century Spain, locals in the town of Banjos reported finding two more green-skinned children under nearly identical circumstances. Confused, speaking an unknown language, unable to explain where they came from. Two cases, centuries apart, two different countries, the same exact story. So ask yourself, if this were just a myth, why would it appear twice in two different countries, hundreds of years apart, with almost identical details. Coincidence? Or is there something about this story that keeps happening that we still don't understand? The leading scientific theory is a real condition called chlorosis, or green sickness, caused by severe iron deficiency. In rare, extreme cases, it can genuinely tint the skin with a faint greenish hue. As the children began eating a normal diet, their iron levels would have recovered, and their skin would have returned to normal. It's tidy, it's medically plausible, but it doesn't explain the language. It doesn't explain the clothing, and it definitely doesn't explain Spain.
The second theory is more grounded. Around that time, a nearby town called Fornham St. Martin had recently been the site of a bloody battle. Some historians believe the children may have been Flemish immigrant orphans, speaking Flemish, dressed in foreign clothing, malnourished and disoriented after losing their parents in the conflict. St. Martin's Land wouldn't be a magical realm at all. It would just be the name of the town they came from. Garbled by two terrified, traumatized children trying to explain where home used to be. That theory is the most widely accepted one today. But it still leaves gaps. Fornham St. Martin is barely a day's walk from Woolpit. So, why would two lost children not be recognized or claimed by anyone nearby? And why would two supposedly ordinary refugee children both happen to have a documented green tint to their skin? The exact detail multiple independent chroniclers specifically wrote down: the girl was eventually baptized and given an English name, Agnes. She grew up in Sir Richard's household, and by most historical accounts, went on to live an entirely ordinary adult life. She's even believed to have married and worked as a servant in the years that followed. She lived, by all accounts, a full human life in England. But she never fully explained where St. Martin's Land really was. Not once, for the rest of her life. Think about that for a second. If it really was just a mundane story, lost refugee children, nothing supernatural, why keep the mystery a secret for the rest of her life? Wouldn't she just explain it? Correct the rumors? Instead, the strangest detail of a strange story was the one thing she carried in silence for decades, until she died. Nearly 900 years later, the village of Woolpit still remembers them. There's a sign on the village green today: 2 green children beneath a tree. No forensic evidence remains. No DNA. No records of exactly where they were buried. All that's left is 2 chronicles, written by men with no reason to lie, a location that still exists today. Whose? And a question that has outlived every single generation that's tried to answer it. Who? What? Were the green children of Woolpit? If this one got under your skin, good. There are stranger stories where this came from. Some real, some legend, some we're still not sure which. See you in the next one.